With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA. Treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Today, the top drivers in the PRL's Formula 3 series, powered by VCO, get ready for their second challenge in Japan. After a busy time at Fuji, they head to Suzuka Circuit for today's action here on RaceSpot and VCO Esports. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Taylor Burris, along with our producer and Connery Maddock, as we get ready to see which drivers are able to bounce back from some rough runs from Fuji, while others look to build up the momentum coming into this one, Taylor. Lots of action expected tonight. It should be a fun second round of the season.
It certainly is, Justin, and good evening, everyone, as we are here at the beautiful Suzuka circuit, one of the most pristine racing circuits, I have to say, on the iRacing series and schedule here for this season. It's going to provide a lot of great racing action, and with these Formula 3 cars, be prepared to see a lot of passing like what we saw at Fuji, but a lot of technical driving that we will see compared to what we saw at Fuji. Here at Suzuka, we're going to see a lot more technicalities as far as trying to get into corners, braking zones, as well as the flowing sections of the course. Fuji, though, was more high speed. This is going to provide a little bit more of a challenge.
Let's take a look at the schedule, and as mentioned, back-to-back races in Japan to start the season. But remember, after next week, things get very tricky. Sonoma, Alton Park, Red Bull, Phillip Island, all lined up astern. Coming into the next few weeks, approaching the halfway point of the season, Taylor, that's not going to be an easy schedule for any driver.
No, it certainly is not. It's going to provide a lot of great challenges, and it's going to showcase who really is some of the top Formula 3 drivers here in the Precision Racing League. As we already know, the season is already really only one race in, but it's already causing a lot of changes and shakeup in the point standings.
Let's take a look at how things fared out to start off the season. This is the overall running order, as David Holland picked up career win 34 in open wheel competition on Thursday nights. Connor Wagner, Ron Clenard rounded up a top 3 for Hardpoint by Delta Sport. And the momentum definitely there when it comes to the Delta Sport drivers. Lots of speed expected from them tonight.
They certainly are going to be a lot of speed coming out of those 2-3 drivers from that team. And I gotta say, as long as they keep themselves clean and not have any other major issues, they will continue to dominate this season.
Let's take a look at the format for this season, and for those wondering, there are 2 different classes this season, the Pro and the AM. The Pro is determined based on signups, but for the AM, you must have a 1000 IR rating with a minimum of a D 2.0 license, as in, you must be at least a little bit experienced when it comes to the platform. It's open setups, 50% fuel, not a mandatory pit stop, but an expected pit stop. For today's race, they have 30 minutes to set their best qualifying laps today, 40 minutes up on the clock for the race, 20 laps today, though, expect to be the more significant total. And remember, a drive-through at 13 incident points, a disqualification at 17, Taylor.
And this track can definitely eat up the safety rating points, as well as those points that we're mentioning here that could cause some penalties out here. Drivers can very easily hit those one-off courses or spin the car out. We've seen several drivers throughout practice and this qualifying session already struggling with the technicalities and the difficulty of this amazing Japanese circuit.
Qualifying is underway for these drivers. We'd like to remind you that this coverage is brought to you by VCO. Tonight's coverage also presented by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Tonight's coverage also brought to you by RaceLab Apps. RaceLab helps you improve your racing skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Coverage also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products include incredible immersion and bring realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. And by Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting more than 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Drivers in the midst of their 30 minutes of qualifying, open qualifying, to be able to determine where they'll run here today. And keep in mind, strategy always critical when it comes to this qualifying. Talk us through this track tonight, though, Taylor. You mentioned a bit about it. How do you plan it out for qualifying?
Well, for qualifying, of course, here, that first run when you come across the start-finish line is going to be so critical to carry that speed into the first corner here. And then, of course, hitting your apexes as you climb up through snakes. You don't want to go too wide when you're approaching that anti-bank curve, and make sure you don't lose control as you're coming up through Dunlop. And as we see some of these competitors working through Degnar 1 and 2, Degnar 2 is going to provide a very difficult section to make sure you can easily spin that car out. Now, Locke's right on board with Tyler Campbell into the hairpin. A great passing opportunity, but also for qualifying, hugging that apex as tight as you can, and then getting onto the throttle as quickly as possible. As we see, Tyler is he's at the soup store right now with the Campbell's soup behind him, so hopefully he'll be able to get the right soup and be able to chug it down in victory lane if he takes home the win as he approaches over Spoon.
Wait, you chug soup?
I mean, you might as well if you're can't do a shoey.
Either way, you can see how focused it gets as well in that run up to 130R. This is one of just a couple circuits across the globe with a figure eight style portion of the racetrack. And of course, the main passing zone today, that run to the Casio Triangle, going to be also prevalent for the late braking here today.
And of course, right, love watching the curves through there because it could easily cost you valuable time or end up damaging the car. Of course, these Formula 3 cars have the brand new damage model, so that will even be even more treacherous for these cars to try to survive a lap around this circuit.
Let's look around the circuit with Tyler Campbell, currently 11th in qualifying, top 10 of the points for the pro class after the first round of the season. Currently, it's Connor Wagner at the top of the board, also amongst those drivers with Delta Sport backing. David Hall in second, Michael Diaz in third, Sebastian Cofre and Michael Cofre the top 5. Quickest in practice was Michael. Let's take a look at Connor Wagner, The 51 machine looking stellar so far. Very quiet in practice, but when it comes to race pace, remember, a lot of drivers had a lot of shuffling as a result of some of the lap traffic last time out.
Yeah, it was very critical of lap traffic here, and it's going to be even more difficult to deal with lap traffic compared to what we saw at Fuji. And this is because of how difficult it is to make passes here around this circuit. Fuji, you have many different openings and long straightaways to make passes to get around lap traffic. Here, you really only have 2 straightaways where you can really open it up and have some great passing opportunities to work around lap traffic. Here, you have to pick and choose when and when not to make those passes, as we see Nick McLaughlin, who currently sits P9 by the looks of it in the number 62.
And that's in the AM
class.
Yep, indeed. Currently 9th in that time in AM class. Expecting big things, though, from Nick McLaughlin. The thing is, the team itself has had some struggles to start off the season. We're expecting big things from Michael Overbay, his pro class teammate. Slow start, though, for the TQ engineering cars.
Slow pace, but hey, sometimes slow and steady is going to be the key to winning the race here, as we see him work through the Casio triangle. A little bit of a mishap right behind him as he tries to hold on to the wheel, but continues to do on.
Keep in mind, he has more experience when it comes to sports cars and platforms, getting ready to set his flying time here. He was amongst the bottom of the board for much of the practice session. Currently, the split from top to the bottom of the board. Oh, a 7-second gap. Full-time Sturl in the 150.8. Reference say currently on the racetrack. You can just see how focused he is with the camera view and how much he's trying to put in the wheel. You can see he's not happy too much with his line right now, though.
Nah, he seems to be struggling just a little bit here as he sits in that 9th position in the amateur class, as he's trying to make quick work and trying to avoid any cars that are trying to get off the racetrack. But has a couple of good runs here. I see a couple of good potentials in that Apex button box machine. He's just got to make sure he puts it all together to make sure he can get that fast lap for him.
A reference, the top driver in the AM class currently is Leo Learn, who is currently 13th overall in the 7 car, followed by Kevin Santana. Remember, it was a busy time in that class in the later stages, but it was Leo who pulled away with the AM's top spots to end off the first round of the season over Turner Schroll.
As we watch Leo working his way through, he is your pole sitter in the AM category, and he had a great run last week at Fuji, looking to see if he can continue that trend for him as well in the number 7 machine. A lot of things good coming out of this group and this car, as he is currently setting that 151. He currently sits 13th overall in the standings, so he's got a little bit of work to do being the top 10, but being that pole sitter in class is very much a big help.
The Finale Racing machine, definitely very consistent. Keep in mind in practice, Taylor, he was very quick on his marks. See where his 4th total lap around the racetrack puts him. He was inside the top grouping for much of that session. 152.7. Needs to pick up the tempo the next time around. He does have plenty of draft to potentially work with here, and the traffic seems to be playing nicely. Speaking, though, of some of the other drivers to keep an eye on, James Carter. We mentioned him being able to chug away towards the end of the race last time. Atomic Racing, my goodness. Last time out, just the one single driver for them had avoided trouble. Carter looking, along with the rest of Atomic Racing, to have the fans cheer them on for a clean run tonight.
He's going to look for that clean run as he comes out of the Casio triangle here, currently sitting 14th in class with that 153 as he comes across the line. He does not improve. His 140.53.47 is the best he can do, so he's got a little bit of work to do, but he does have enough time to continue on here. A lot of drivers have already ran anywhere between 4 to 6 laps in this qualifying session so far, with 16 minutes to go.
Plenty of time to think about and work with. Amongst his teammates, Joey Devon, who is currently 32nd on the board, and a couple of the others. On the bright side, that fan continues to cheer in the same amount of consistency. High volume.
Hey, that fan can come into a big help of getting downforce. I mean, you think about it, that's what a lot of these fans can provide for them as well. So maybe it'll help them get through this race a little bit and keep them cool in the process.
That's very important actually to consider for some, is the air regulation around them in the real-world environments. Again, 15th currently in his respective class and AM. Taking a look at some of the air drivers that zip around the racetrack. This is David Holland. We mentioned the victories for him. All-time leading winner in open wheel competition. And looking to try and move up a little bit in this qualifying session. Does have a bit of draft to work with in Ross Cato possibly.
David Holland is a phenomenal driver here in the PRL Formula Series as we're watching him work through qualifying. As he comes up onto the back bumper of one of the competitors in qualifying as they approach the hairpin, just watch how much speed he can carry through in here. Gets right on the throttle right there, and that's just a great area off corner exit to carry that momentum you need down through the 130R. Or nice, maybe.
Yeah, this is a flyer to keep in mind for David Holland to try and push from the 151.1s last time around. And the major thing you have to keep in mind is Delta Sport's been a long-time supporter of this series, especially this campaign. Having Hardpoint by Delta Sport being the team name, expecting some huge things from them once more, because having that experience can be very helpful when it comes to open wheel competition.
It's going to be critical to see what he can. It's critical to make sure that he can have these good runs here. As he has a little bit of a bobble over the curving right there through Casio. But it looks like he might be able to. No, I don't think he will improve on his lap time. It's going to be a slow one. 152.9.
Yep, so going to have to pick it up a little bit, know when the slingshot off of, and keep in mind when we mention that, that's where the team dynamic comes in. Michael Kofre, by the way, is in second, as the leader in practice in terms of hot lap times in the 150.9s. This is the type of racetrack where it's a little bit different in the formation, but with drivers like Kevin Santana, others such as, say, Kevin Sandiego, can build a ton of draft down the front straightaway here.
This is a great opportunity.
Oh, look at that. That's a 151.5. That is currently 9th best and first in AM.
Great drive right there by Kevin Santana and the 666 machine. He had a lot of help from the competitor behind him to help him propel him up through the standings in qualifying.
And you know, that is going to be huge, Taylor, if that holds in terms of the distance position-wise, because keep in mind, they start in the overall positioning on the track. That's going to make it very busy. Hearing there's been a crash, though, in the middle of the S's in the midst of this qualifying session. Kofre and several others have had to take the tow as a result of a 3-4 car incident in the S's in the midst of the session.
Take a look at this here as we watch the 7 machine of Leo working his way through S's. Oh, gets into the grass, loops it around, collects. Doesn't collect anybody at that point in time.
And it looks fine from here, you know, just trying to stay off the circuit, but then at least a couple cars past this point, about a corner or two behind, you see some of them even stopping. Started to pile on in. Hearing McLaughlin was also involved in that trouble. That forced several drivers to tow as a result of some of the trouble on the minimap. Michael Overbay also with the rollers round him. And I believe it will be more so Michael Overbay as we go back to live, as you see some of the other drivers complete their lap times here.
To see if there's really anybody who's going to be making a flying lap here. Rod Clenard is looking to be possibly one in the 45 machine. And then David Hollins is looking to improve upon his current lap time right now.
Clenard, keep in mind, 3rd spot in the opening race of the season. Munsto's expecting big things, and a big bubble and a weave and a save and a second weave and a save. Lard was all over the racetrack there for a moment, Taylor.
Certainly is a big moment as one car is off. That's the 14 of Max Shabley as we ride on Shabley as we watch him with Clenard here as he gets that bobble coming up through. Ooh, there's a hit. He saves it one time there. Saves it again. How about that by the hard point by Delta Sport driver?
That's not an easy save at that point, going full reverse lock in a couple instances there. Able to hold on to that race car. Clenard likely not going to push ahead of his personal best last time then. 151.141 currently the best time from so far in this session. That is 0.2 off the pole time. You can already see it right here, just trying to wind it on down possibly. Don't know how this will fare out. Looking like at least to see the time. Are going to push ahead. Yeah, 3 seconds lost from all those saves. As we take a look at Michael Coffray.
Coffray currently is working his way out of Spoon, and as we watch that 140 machine, he's looking like he's improving upon his current time. He's about 6/10, maybe 7/10 up on his current pace, and as he works his way down the back straightaway here, heading over to the 130R, he'll make a good run there. Sets up for the braking zone into Casio Triangle. Sending it really deep right there. Almost loses it a little bit right there in the entry, but is able to gather it back up, and let's see what this time is going to be. It's looking pretty strong as he comes out. Picks up a little bit of time. A 151.07.
Not enough to take the pole, though. Still 0.2 back of Connor Wagner, who has held on to the top spot in this session most of the time around for the pro class in particular. You can already see lots of distance for him to try and work forward. Frankie Arbello, the only other driver in front currently, within a decent distance, who's already coming into the pit. How does Connor Wagner respond? Last time, built up speed to the 153, scrapes the wall across the stripe, gets a 150.7 regardless to bump up the pole time.
How about that speed? And I think it's safe to say Connor Wagner's going to park it in qualifying right now. I mean, I don't really see anybody. Maybe Coffray might have a shot at it again if we keep an eye on that 140 machine. But other than that, everybody else is really not showing pace. Maybe David Holland I would keep an eye on, as Moises Carbello comes up to P3 with a 151.141.
And Moises very quietly jumping up there. Moises, keep in mind, showed some good speed, but also was in the midst of that battle. Remember, that was a wrestling match, it seemed, for about 4th on back last time around for much of the race. Caraballo finished 11th that day. He was the last in the pro class to finish the race, in fact. Tied for points scored with Michael Overbay. As there goes a jump up to Holland for second.
There's the 1 machine of Michael Diaz, as we see the 7 machine of Leo coming through the 130R. That's a little bit of a good run, seeing if he can improve upon his lap time to get a little bit closer to his AM competitor, Kevin Santana.
Needs to get a lot closer in terms of the overall positioning. Currently the separation 5 spots, not going to bump it up there, so needs to pick up the next time around. He is currently helping Brian Lowe, though, who is an AM teammate. Take a look back over the Wave Italy machine. Michael Coffray still in the 3rd spot. And now needs to pass 2 cars. Looking like starting to back out a little bit. In fact, Connor Wagner starting to come back out on racetrack, in fact.
Yeah, David Holland just set a 159. He's currently on pit road. He's not going to try and improve at this time with 7.5 minutes to go. Connor Wagner might sense that some drivers are starting to pick up that pace and trying to find those extra 0.2 to catch up to him.
Indeed, it's going to be intriguing how this plays out for the strategy cards, too. Because it's easier when you have teammates line up a stern tail where you have to think to be able to play out your strategy. When you have a mixture of different teams, it gets more difficult for everyone to get on the same page because everyone might have a different page or a different agenda set on those pages.
It certainly is the case here, as Rod Clenard tried to improve on that, but could not catch up to make any gains on his time. As we watch Coffray coming up down here, he's really not going to be able to pick up any time this time around at this point.
You can already see just tire warm-up lap for a moment there for Michael Coffray with the draft. You drivers are trying to battle some struggles. We've already seen a couple spin out. Ryan Punchdale in particular has had a spin. Here's a look at Wagner. Mention him coming back out. This will take a couple laps to get up to speed, Taylor. The interesting thing, nobody around currently. Well, there was one nearby who had just spun. A couple others are coming in and out of the pit lane, amongst those Kevin Santana after 4 minutes of adjustments. The top driver in AM class looking to get back to work. with about 6 minutes on the clock. And that's not how you get back to work.
No, it is.
Wait, you just said it is?
No, it is not how you get back to work.
Well, Kevin Santana going back to the drawing board after that one. Michael Coffre, expect him to be pushing this lap as long as the traffic holds up. And keep in mind, Juan Coffre also is catching up, but there is Adam McDonald and Tyler Campbell just up the road that he's gaining on rapidly here. That could adjust things here for the time. There goes one of them to give space.
5.5 minutes to go. Coffre trying to see if he can get a good run out of the hairpin down through the back half of the course. He's going to try to make it work. He has a little bit of slipstream possibility up ahead of him, but I don't think it's going to really come into factor for him at this point in time. He's going to get a little closer in order to make it work as they approach over to Spoon. Watch him carry that speed in. You want to kind of arc a corner and hit that section right there as you hit this double apex of a corner before approaching the back straightaway to carry that speed.
See, there's a car up in front, and it looks like Coffre just lifted out. May have gotten an off track there, maybe. Might have to regroup for another attempt here. 3 estimated laps for him to get the job done here. So essentially, this is the last run Michael Coffre and many of these drivers will have the chance to do here. And you can see it right there. Already has picked up in it. Is saying, let's work with Juan as that strategy. Adam McDonald's also in the line. Joey Tevin is currently the lead car for the train. As we take a look now at the 278, Caraballo trying to pick up the tempo.
Caraballo really having a good run in this qualifying session. He needs to have that compared to what happened to him at Fuji, where he was towards the back half of the top 10 for most of it. And then we'll see if he can be able to pick it up and try to have a good run here in Suzuka. As it comes out of the corner, he's not going to be able to improve upon his lap time, but we could see some big changes for him as we see a few other drivers having a couple of good runs right now. As Connor Wagner comes out of the final corner, he will not improve on his lap time.
That includes the out, and keep in mind, that was actually pretty quick for an out lap there, Taylor, just 2 seconds off his top time. He might be able to push here to possibly extend the pole time with no drafting help. David Holland's back on track as well, and he'll have time for one flyer. Just one.
Let's see what he can do here as they come up towards the back half of the course, heading into that hairpin.
Yep. It won't be this
really
time. Keep in mind, Taylor, this is the out lap for Holland after 4 minutes of adjustments.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do on this out lap, as well as also how much momentum he can carry to get started for the flying lap he's about to take.
Exactly. You see how many drivers have already completed their runs compared to those pushing ahead. Give credit, though, to Am, because Leon Learn has been trying to push hard. Leo trying to jump up from second in the class and try and close what is now a 5-car buffer. No, has elected to come into pit instead, so there goes the qualifying runs for the number 7. So Kevin Santana looks to be in position for the pole for that class, depending on what drivers like Takeshi Kita can go, who just parked it as well. Looking at Holland. Holland coming into the pit lane has elected to come in instead of going for another lap here, surprisingly.
Interesting situation for him here in these closing minutes here as we're approaching the 2-minute warning in qualifying. So we're going to see if Carbello does not improve on his lap time. Will he run another lap to see if he can get a little closer to the top 5 or inside the top 5?
Connor just raised the bar to a 150.6. Holland back on track, but is there going to be enough time? There's 1 minute and 50 seconds on the clock, Taylor. Hearing he may just get there for one lap. Just one. Moises, for reference, is now on a flyer as well. This likely the final run, and he nearly spins it instead. Also back on the racetrack is Santana after 3.5 minutes, nearly 4 minutes of adjustments after sliding off into the sand trap after its initial adjustments. This is going to be a very tight one, though, for the 666. Only 1 minute and 10 seconds to get back to the line.
It's going to be tight. Ooh, he goes almost off the course right there. I don't know if that will be able to hinder his speed when he gets up on his flying lap here. But it's going to be critical to watch what he can do as he finishes up this warm-up lap to catch up.
Good portion of the drivers have already completed their runs. Currently, top 10 overall is, for the time being, all pro drivers. Wagner, Holland, Michael and Sebastian Coffre, Caraballo, Glenard, Juan Coffre, Michael Diaz, Tyler Campbell, Negretti, rounding out the top 10 currently. Holland getting ready to see if he can get one more lap in. 28 seconds up on the board. If he can come across the stripe, there is one more lap Holland can complete. And it looks like he'll do it. As long as he avoids the one car spun off the track, instead he'll just come back to the pit lane and practice his pit entry again. Which is important.
Very important, because it's going to be critical when he does have to come down pit road for that pit stop, and I think it's safe to say nobody else will get to the line before the time expires here. Nick McLaughlin trying to see if he can finish up his qualifying lap.
Look at where he's at, though. That's a big change from before to second, right behind Santana. Last time around, he did that in the 151.5s. McLaughlin trying to get his first pole of the season. Can he push ahead here? This to end off his qualifying. 151.6 can't do it. And Kevin Santana behind him also closes out the run, so it's Wagner up at the top, pending how these last few do. Michael Diaz amongst those who cannot improve on his laps. The defending series champion again having a start in the heart of the pack after a very wild qualifying session for some. 151.2 at the stripe, but it isn't an improvement, by the way.
It's safe to say I think both Kevin Santana and Wagner will be our pole sitters for today's race as we get ready to watch 40 minutes or 20 laps of action here at Suzuka.
Still a couple more to go here. There's about 90 seconds to work with the checker flag waving. Amongst these drivers finishing, Frankie Arvello, one of the top finishers in AM class last time out. Currently 23rd overall, looking to bump up from 7th. 13th lap complete of 151.7 is an improvement. But as you see, it's third best in AM. That leaves just 3 on the track, just 3. Lowe, Swindells. That's it in terms of those who can set lap times currently. Most of them have a lot of space. Cale Petrie is also currently on track, but currently is in 9th in pro. Here is a look at Brian Lowe. Was getting help before from teammates. Not going to be able to set an official lap time, though. So that leaves just Petrie and those on circuit after a wild and flying qualifying session. Petrie's best time for reference, a 151.4, after running inside the top 5 to close out the first round of the season. Petrie will close out the qualifying session with a pit stop practice entry where he just goes below the speed limit. Keep in mind, McDonald cannot set a time here. So that, in turn, means the end of qualifying, Taylor. Wagner picking up the pole by 0.3 of a second plus.
How about that? That's going to be very interesting to see how this race will go about later on here tonight, especially when we get to the second half of the race here at Suzuka, when the gaps start to wind up. Who will be able to take care of their equipment and finally battle it out for the race win?
Qualifying has come to a close. Drivers have a couple moments to be able to grid up their cars for the standing start. Let's take a quick look at your running order here tonight for Formula 3 action in the PRL, powered by VCO. It's drivers now hitting the starting grid for tonight's action. Connor Wagner on the pole today for Hardpoint by Delta Sport with a teammate alongside and David Holland. Michael Coffre and Sebastian Coffre, the top 4, with Moises Caraballo inside the top 5. Rob Quinard starts from 6th today, about half a second off the pole time, while 7th goes to Juan Coffre. Then it's Michael Diaz, Cale Petrie, and Tyler Campbell, the top 10. Justin Negretti and Kevin Santana, the top 12. Santana, the top AM driver. Nick McLaughlin, the second best AM driver, starts 13th, with Steve Giori in 14th. Then it is Palacio in 15th, Chablis in 16th. Michael Overbay looks strong starting off the session Drop back in qualifying though to 17th. Frankie Arvello starts 18th overall. 19th goes to Kevin Sandiego with Leon and Kita, the top 21. Manuel Vargas starts 22nd with Ryan Punchdell struggling in qualifying 23rd. Curtis Schroll second in last week's round starts 24th overall. 25th position goes to Steven Ritters with Brent Thurman in 26th. Alomar Rodriguez, the top 28. A quick look towards the rest of the field. Of note towards the back of the field, James Carter, Colin Heffernan. 42 starters ready to go here today from Suzuka. And just about all the drivers have made it to the starting grid for today's action as we get ready to go racing once more from Japan. We just wait on one driver, Michael Blaze, to be able to get ourselves rolling here today. All set to go. Round 2 of the PRL Formula 3 Series powered by VCO from Suzuka Circuit is ready to go. The drivers are ready. Are you ready? Engines are revving. Green lights are out. We're underway from Japan. And a clean start for the field as Connor Wagner with a great start. Holland already under attack for second, gets cleared for second as the battle is on for third on back to start off. Caraballo looking to wheel it from the outside, Kent with Michael Coffray. Two drivers towards the back have crashed. San Diego and Learn have both gotten involved in incidents as well as Michael Blaze.
Field already working their way up through the S's right now as Wagner and Holland have checked out of the rest of the field. Then you have, of course, Coffray, who leads in third position with Caravello and Sebastian right there rounding out your top 5 as they approach into Degner 1 and 2. And then it's going to be clean racing inside your top 10. A little bit more chaotic once you get inside the top 15.
Quick look at the replay, and wow. Talk about that for your first corner.
Yeah, you don't call this track one of the most difficult circuits in the world for nothing as we ride on board with Kevin Sandiego. Let's see what really happened to him. And as they work their way into it, there you see 3 wide action right there. And there's the contact hopping over the wheel. And unfortunately for him and the 7 machine, their day is done.
He'll learn. Also was major damage involved in that. Was one of the top starters in the AM class. Not anymore. One of the first of the few drivers off the track, Tyler Campbell, has just spun off as well in live action. But the Finale Racing driver with a huge lick. That car, massive destroyed. Justin Negrete has also just gotten involved in trouble. One of the pro drivers from the top 10 starting spots. But outside of that, the big story involving not just the pro side, but the AM side, your biggest movers, McLaughlin is already up to the AM class lead in the heart of the Hornet's Nest.
That's going to be difficult for Nick McLaughlin. He's got Kevin Santana 2 seconds back from him as they work their way through. Watching Rob Clinard trying to hold off a gaggle of cars. You have Sebastian, Juan Coffray as well as they work their way through the first corner and approach up to the top of the hill through Snake.
Rob Clinard still trying to hold on, Ron, with Juan Coffray, Michael Diaz, Cale Patry in this pack. And they have to be careful. If they get too racy here, they may lose the draft of the next cars in front. Michael Coffray is trying to build up a buffer as well as Sebastian Coffray in the midst of all of this. In fact, Clinard is pulling away and gaining on Sebastian.
Great racing action here as we see the 91 machine of Juan Coffray go a little bit too wide right there. That might open the door for Michael Diaz to see if he can get involved in this battle. And he goes a little wide out of Degner 2 as they approach over to the hairpin. Hard onto the braking zone they'll go. A little bit of brake smoke in front. No harm, no foul. They'll now approach towards the back half of the course.
No gain so far for the number 1 machine. His teammate Moises Caraballo has already gained 2 to 3rd spot for reference. Seeing them head towards Spoon Curve already for the second time in this race. And this is where you need to be patient in some circumstances. It's a long race. To be able to plan things out, Taylor, to be able to be strategic on these passes here today.
That is going to be so critical to find those strategic passing points in order to make it work here. Right now is trying to feel out to the track, feel out your competitors to see where they are struggling, where they are strong. That's where you need to try to take your time, learn the track, learn a little bit about where these drivers are struggling at, and capitalize on it. As we watch Moises Caraballo, keeping ahead of Michael Coffre as they come out of the final corner across the start-finish line. Big head of steam with the draft cut, opening them out down the front stretch.
If anything, Connor Wagner's trying to break it. Just about 1 second up the road for the rest of the pack currently. So that's something to keep in mind here for these race leaders, that when you have the clean air, it helps you a bit in terms of the rotation for the technical parts of the track, such as this one.
Yeah, this back and forth, working your way up to the top of the hill as they approach over towards the anti-bank corner and then over into Dunlop. This is an area where you can carry a lot of momentum and speed to help build up that run you need on your competitors, as well as holding off their competitors as well if you're trying to stay ahead of them. As we watch the rest of the field, here's Nick McLaughlin, your amateur leader, as he's working his way through, having a strong run. He has about 1 card gap between him and, of course, the AM second place driver, Kevin Santana, as they work over to the hairpin.
Currently the buffer car is Steve Giori, for reference, who is also a TQ engineering machine. So a great start for the number 62, you have to say. Kevin Santana has to find a way around the 56 and break up the teammates, you'd have to think, right?
He certainly does, but if you remember last week, Kevin Santana had strong runs but made some mistakes late in the going, so he's got to be careful not to make any mistakes this time around in order to cost him valuable positions and points. So I think right now it's a good time to just ride it out, see what other competitors do, and if they make mistakes, capitalize on it. If not, just get the points.
Keep in mind, the next nearest driver in the class is 3 positions back. Here comes Santana with the look, though. Not close enough for the lunge. Pass to back out of it. Giori holds on to the spot. Santana still with the buffer to Max Shapley, though. Be able to hold on to 12th overall on the circuit. Already starting lap 4. And you'd have to expect lots of drivers may try and see if they can be brave here on the inside of turn 1. You already see that with several of the snaking down the straightaway.
I gotta say, that was some aggressive snaking as we see Takeshi Kita in the Atomic Racing machine trying to work his way up through the field in 16th position in that 64 machine as he's trying to work his way around Michael Overbay.
Michael Overbay, not the greatest of starts to this campaign once again. Still 15th overall last time around, is still in that spot. Still trying to hold off Kita, who is quietly being very sneaky in his position gains. He is up 5 positions overall and is 3rd in the M class and gaining on Overbay and company.
He certainly is, and as they work their way out of Degner 2, 1 car goes into the barrier behind them, but as they approach Spoon, they're going to work their way through that to Brett Thurman, who had trouble.
Thurman, who was running in 20th position for STRE Black, has to put the car onto the tow truck. Let's take a look at what happened here for the mid-pack runner.
Here coming through Degner 1 has a nice run, clips the curbing right there as he approaches that middle section, and then unfortunately hits the grass and into the tire barriers before he comes out of Degner 2.
Nearly speared a teammate there as well in the midst of that slide. Thurman quickly going right to the track exit. Safety of the track crew. Bernard, by the way, is now leading that second major gaggle of cars. Sebastian Coffre has dropped back to 6th position. Juan Coffre holding on to 7th. Here's a look at Juan. You can see that separation starting to really build in here with the racetrack.
Certainly is here. He gets a good run and then tries to back it down to 3rd gear through into the first corner. Has a great run to keep up with the next car in front of him, which is Sebastian Coffre. As they work through it, look at him sawing at the wheel to try to keep it into the apex.
Juan a little bit better in terms of sticking it down to the bottom. Here's a look, meanwhile, with somebody are battling again. This is Santana, who is trying to find a way to get back up to McLaughlin. He has passed Giori, but the downside is it's a 1.3 second buffer to Nick McLaughlin, who is inside that top 10. Trouble up in front of them. Juan Coffre has hit the tire barrier. There goes the 91 7th spot on racetrack.
Tough break for Juan. He was having such a good run, and unfortunately I think it's safe to say just the troubles of Degner just bite him once again here at Suzuka with competitors.
Here's a look on board, and you can see him just trying to run. Bye-bye.
And there goes that tire, and unfortunately his day is done.
Michael Blaze also in trouble this lap, has dropped off the pylon. He was running in 30th. And look back towards some of the other drivers. There's a look at some of the drivers now in the pit lane as the damage continues to build up. Blake Seedy has also got into trouble. Here's what happened to Blaze. And it looks fine here. He was running at a solid pace. And then here comes the hairpin. See, a technical issue. Hearing there's been a crash. A major crash on that. Kale Patry is in it.
He was running inside the top 10 during this time. Let's watch and see what happened. He's coming through the 130R and approaching over to the Casio Triangle. He tries to go, looks like, to the inside of another competitor. That's the one, and collects him up, and then a big stack up almost happens right there. Everyone's able to avoid it. Michael Diaz, the other competitor who made contact.
Diaz, hard contact to the side pod there. Let's take a quick look at this.
Just two drivers going for the same positioning.
And Diaz taking a long while to get going, drops to 17th of note. Lacio, should rather say, has had a hard crash into turn 1 as well, is now out of the race. As the top two, Wagner and Holland, Caraballo still holding on to third though, with Michael Kovray still holding on to the draft. Here's a look at the replay again. And when it comes to the 194, it be turn 1. You see the debris flying around. This was around exactly actually where the one car came back out.
Take a look here and watch as trying to be a big block right there, and it cost him dearly. And there you see Julio work his way into the tire barrier and out of the race here tonight.
Lacio now out of the race, down to 30 cars running on circuit. 2 of them have had damage repairs done. Looking back at the battle for third, Michael Kovray looking racy. Remember, he's known for being aggressive when he has the run. He wants the chance for third here. Caraballo giving him the space, going to the left side. Michael Kovray outbraking him. Goes the 278. And behind them, the battle back on as well for Rob Clenard and Sebastian Kovray. Clenard holding on to 5th.
Looking through the field right now, we currently have 33 cars out on the track right now after 42 started this race. Make it now 32 cars out on the track. So we've lost 10 drivers since the start of the race here today.
Great point, because Adam McDonald and Steven Ritters both have come back on racetrack. Apologies there. But holding on to the battle here in turn is Clenard, albeit these drivers getting really antsy coming out through the corner. Coming out of Dagner, a few have taken the curves extremely hard here, Taylor.
Yeah, it's really, these cars cannot really handle the curving because of how low to the ground they are, how much downforce, as well as just the undercarriage of these cars are so fragile when it comes to racing here. One bad move on the curbing can cost damage and severe time on your track run. A big slide right there as they come through Spoon.
Clenard with an air slide, holds on to it. Does this open the door for the 28 again? Clenard looking like he's going defensive already. Going now to the racing line, Sebastian Kovray elects to just wait in line and wait for an opportunity possibly for the Casio Triangle. Now there's the defensive line. Sebastian Kovray forced to go the long way, doesn't take it.
Big bobble right there by Rod Clenard and hold on to that 4th or 5th position as we watch on. 28 trying to see if he can get a good run out of the final corner. He'll look to the inside, sends it in there, and they'll go side by side down the front stretch.
Kovray able to peel him off the inside line. Sebastian back up a spot, nearly off the track goes Clenard, in turn on the defense. So these drivers continue to fight for 5th overall and in the pro class. It's worth noting trouble for Kevin Santana. 2nd for the M class, had caught it up to McLaughlin, now has no rear wing. A huge incident for the 666.
2 weeks in a row where he's had trouble Let's see what happened to him.
He was in the top 7 overall coming up, in fact. In the midst of this battle, you can see. But watch the draft from the teammates. But it's on his own in this case.
Tough break for Kevin Santana.
Similar mistakes we've seen last time out too, Taylor.
Same thing kind of happened what happened to him last week at Fuji, and unfortunate for Kevin Santana. Always strong runs, but just can't seem to put the final bits and pieces to get the full race in for him. Hopefully he can come together for the next round.
Almost looked like just too quick going down to 4th gear, Taylor.
Possibly, and that's one of the things it looked like as well. If car got really loose in the back end, that caused him to loop it around as well.
By the way, the battle for the race lead, similar to last time out at Fuji, is closing. Holland, again, on the long run, is closing up to Wagner. Last time, Wagner had traffic cost him the race lead before the pit window. This time, no traffic around them, in fact. So it's down to these two just on their own, with 12 to go for the time being, 5 seconds nearly the buffer to Caraballo and company. You see them trying to go hard inside.
Here, ooh, look at that crossover move. That's going to be costly almost right there if they made contact. But so far, no harm, no foul. They will continue on with this battle for position.
Pit window is open. Caleb Pichary has come into the pit lane in the 598. Remember, it was talked about a bit, has a trial run currently with the Delta Sport camp. Big slide and a big miss to the pit box.
That's going to cost valuable time here in his pit box as he finishes up with his pit stop. Now the question is going to be, will he be able to get a good run? And this is where we're going to have to keep track to see where he will wind up once the pit cycle starts.
Off and away, you see out of the pit box, 11.1 seconds, 32.8 seconds in the lane, even with the mistake. That's a decent reference mark to start off this respective pit window for this round.
Currently sits P26 in the 598 machine. Now, when will the rest of the field start making their way down pit road as we watch the top two of Wagner and Holland battle for position? 4/10 separate the two competitors, and both of them have been absolutely flying around this circuit, but yet to break into the 150s here during this point as one car is off. That is Joseph Tebben, and of course one of our RaceSpot colleagues.
It's not been a pretty time for the Atomic Racing Machine, not just because of that you just seen, but also he's been off track a couple times tonight, Taylor. The Atomic Racing driver for the Proton side of the camp has not had a good time in this part of the track.
Unfortunate for him, and he's going to try to loop it around and get back out onto the circuit as quickly as possible, but still no damage. He'll be able to rejoin the track and continue racing.
Just that curbing yet again, it looked like. Coming through the corner. That bit him there. As the race leaders, 3/10 now separating them and closing. Coming up to halfway next time around as well. How do you play this is the question. Behind them, Michael Cofre is trying to play near bumper cars with the front wing nearly over the back end of Caraballo's car.
He is really putting the pressure on Caraballo as they work up into Dunlop. Big slide up through there for Caraballo as they work over to Degner 1.
And keep in mind, Michael Cofre has pushed a lot this run. They've lost time by another second the past lap and a half alone for reference marks. Sebastian Cofre and Rod Clinard are both here as well in this pack. So he has to be smart here at the halfway point of this race.
Watch here as Cofre tries to get a big run down the back straightaway here, heading over into Spoon. He's got some trouble right behind him of none other than Rod Clinard as another car goes around. That's Eric Lacio who goes around through Degner 2. Degner 2, the trouble zone here for tonight.
Lacio, indeed, having more spinnies there. But hold on to it, another cross side. This is for the lead. Holland thought about it. Wagner trying to play defense. Holland peels him off the bottom. Goes to the inside for the Casio triangle. To the race lead goes David Holland.
Great pass by Holland to take over the race lead as we watch Caraballo and Cofre battle for position. Actually, both the Cofres, Michael and Sebastian. Rod Clinard right there as well. 4 cars battling for position as we see Holland holding on to the lead. Wagner tries to stay right behind him as we see the pass on the outside. Here comes Cofrays to the outside of Carabello, side by side through turn 1.
Oh, that's close! Carabello clears, nearly spins himself to do it. Here comes Michael Cofray again. Cofray clears himself across the bumper in the wing. There he goes on the spin. Hard crash for Michael Cofray.
Tough break for Michael Cofray, who was having such a great run, just could not clear Carabello there through that section. It's so difficult to clear a competitor in these S's because there are certain areas where one driver might have the advantage in one section and then you have the advantage in the other section. It's so critical to try to find that opening, and right there's the contact. Around he'll go, the Wave Italy Racing Team done for tonight.
Michael Cofray with a hard lick to the inside and the outside walls. Now, that brings Sebastian Cofray, by the way, up to 3rd. David Holland still in the race lead with Connor Wagner behind. Keep in mind, in the battle for the fastest lap, it's Holland with that advantage currently with that trap from Wagner. Does Wagner counter here? Every point matters, right?
Certainly does, and he just ran that fastest lap last time by, so we'll see if Wagner can respond as they come up to the Casio Triangle. Utilizing, of course, the slipstream as they're going to come through here. Nice, good, smooth run. It's going to be a little bit close. I don't think he's going to get a good fast lap here. Holland might be able to. Nope, neither one will get the fastest lap that time around.
4:10 still the gap across the stripe, in fact, so it's looking good for the 18. Meanwhile, teammates working together, 6th and 7th overall now. What a run from Nick McLaughlin. For TQ Engineering, it might be shoey night.
It certainly might be shoey night indeed for Nick McLaughlin as they work down the front straightaway, heading into the first corner. Strong run between the two TQ Engineering cars, both of them having to be inside the top 7. And they have quite a bit of a gap over the next competitor, 6 seconds behind, of course, 5th place. And then they have a 2.5 second lead over Michael Overbay in 8th.
Pit window open for the AM drivers as well. Kita and Vargas just completed their stops. Kita 4 seconds, 5 seconds for Vargas. Massive difference in terms of pit deltas to keep in mind. For drivers like McLaughlin, how do you play this out in turn? Because it's pretty clear the fuel only is a thought, and a useful thought for many.
It certainly is. It's a great way to save some time. The tires really can be able to make it all the way through, but some drivers feel like if they're towards the back half of the field, that fresh tire will be a big help for them in order to make up some track position and time on competitors. So we'll see who are the ones who do that, who are the ones who just take fuel only compared to that. Currently watching on that or one of the cars that came on pit road, Caleb Petrie, he's currently in 22nd. He has gained at least 4 spots.
Carabao spun. Carabao has spun from the top 5. That drops him nearly into the battle for 6th. Let's take a look at the TQE and Precision Racing Esports machine, who was losing ground at the time, to the next position ahead. And then comes Spoon. Boink.
The good news about Spoon is you have that little bit of asphalt there to rejoin the racetrack instead of getting stuck in the kitty litter out there. So we'll watch on as they come out of the final corner, and Carabello now has about a 2-second advantage over Nick McLaughlin.
Big bumper building up, but the pro drivers continue with their 7-second advantage over the rest of the pack. No pit stop indicated yet for them, and keep in mind the higher tire degradation could be a factor for those on the tire call. That might be a factor we're going to have to keep an eye on. But remember, with the Formula 3 car, the lighter the car, the faster you go, even with the tire fall off.
And that really came through fruition for Connor Wagner. He just set the fastest lap of the race last time by with a 51.12. So he is definitely going to be one to watch here as Brian Lowe comes out onto the racetrack.
Also,
big trouble for Carabella. He flips over in, and it has severe damage right in front of the track now as he will take a tow. But a big issue for Moises Carabella. Let's take a look at the replay.
He had to fight this car several times. Remember, this has been a trouble spot all race. The run through Degner. Degner 1 clean, Degner 2 not so much.
Big hit. That's probably the biggest hit we've seen all night out of Degner 2.
Nick McLaughlin was running on his own with the bumper in front. Looking like things are nice and calm, right? And then, Q corner exit. Bit of a crack of the throttle.
That's where the grass is your friend at that point in time.
Pit stops underway for the top 4, by the way. Expecting more stops as well this time. A bad time for that time of a wreck, to say the least, for some. Nick McLaughlin has stretched it. David Holland first out of the pit lane over Connor Wagner. Oh, and a close timing with Michael Diaz over the gearbox.
This is going to get exciting here as Diaz tries to find an opening to get around the driver of Connor Wagner and David Holland as they come out through the S's up to the top of the hill. And a great drive right now for them as we wait and see who will be next to join on to pit road.
Keep in mind, Diaz still yet to pit as well. Michael Overbay. You also have Giori and McLaughlin yet to pit as well. Give a shout out to Turner Schroll, who's up to 9th overall now, currently 2nd in the AM class after being towards the very back of the field nearly in qualifying. Also one of the best runs for Ross Cato, top 4, but yet to pit as well. You still see these leaders, though, having plenty of traffic to battle with. It's Michael Overbay, the first of those up.
Overbay having a great run, trying to see if he can keep pace with Steve Gaiori. They currently are 1-2 in the pro category. Nick McLaughlin still holds on overall and in the AM class lead as we ride on board with Michael Overbay.
Got a little bit loose. Traffic management being discussed on the radio because keep in mind Overbay needs to pit. 6 laps to go. Where will the traffic get the chance to go? Casio Triangle the run this time. Looking like they do have the awareness of the stop coming up. Top 3 have to come down. Will they peel in? 1, 2, 3. Yes, indeed, they come in. In fact, all the TQ engineering cars in that line.
I gotta say, it's a great night for the TQ engineering cars with, of course, Nick McLaughlin leading on in the AM category and Overbay.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Battle for the lead.
Wagner getting the slingshot. Holland now looking to battle it out. Down to the final 6 laps in this one.
It's going to get exciting here as we see these competitors battling and jockeying for position as the TQ engineering cars are off on pit road. And Takeshi Kita takes over 2nd place over Turner Scroll for 2nd spot in the AM category.
There's a reason they have the nickname Mr. Sneaky, right? Takeshi Kita, very sneaky, going up 12 spots in this race. From the mid-pack to 2nd in the AM class in turn today. But for the overall race lead, Holland is still all over the back end nearly of Wagner. It's not going to be easy for Wagner to hold on. It's not going to be easy for Holland to win this race. They have a 9-second buffer. But it could come down to who's got the best positioning for the final time around, Taylor.
It certainly does come down to that as we watch on these competitors working their way through. And I gotta say, these 2 competitors will put on one beautiful show here in these closing stages. Even though they're teammates, they're gonna fight tooth and nail for this race win.
Holland's got the run. Better toe, better pull. Right side. Holland to the inside of the Casio Triangle. Wagner lets him have it. Will Wagner try and get the run back is the question for turn 1. Five laps to go from Suzuka. Wagner with the toe. Elects to hold on to it. Maintaining patience this time for turn 1 and 2.
Maintaining great patience indeed as we watch them work their way through. and have a great run up to the top of the hill through the S's, giving each other very respectful runs and space to continue on this great battle, but also making sure that they do not break the #1 rule when it comes to racing with your teammate.
Do not wreck your teammate.
Bingo. As we watch them work together and have a great battle as they approach Degner 1 and 2.
The best passing opportunity still. Casio Triangle still the first corner here in this one. 4.5 laps to go. Might be why Wagner elected to wait there too, Taylor, because the Casio Triangle has been the better of the two spots as he nearly spins it. That was a major trip for Wagner, and that might cost him a chance this lap. This is a nerve-wracking part of the race, Taylor, you'd have to think if you're Wagner. Because last time he was leading, traffic, he gets involved with a crash with it, ends up losing the race. This time, he has to fight with the teammate in David Holland, the veteran.
He certainly does, and he's going to really have a good run as they come up to the 130 yard. And not enough room to make anything happen, but he might be able to gain some ground and set up for a good pass, possibly before they get into the first corner.
Keep in mind, he started to really hit these curves a lot more than Holland. How much does that hurt him is the major thing. He's been drifting out of some of these corners, Taylor.
He certainly has, and that's going to be critical to see how that will affect the grip levels on his 51 machine as they work their way into the first corner. And looking at the times, he was off the pace then compared to normally. He was almost 4/10 off compared to David Holland.
That's with the near spin going through the hairpin last time around. But Wagner's been better in this section. Holland's been better when it comes to the high-speed corners. And the run coming out of the Casio Triangle today, though. No traffic expected to play a factor here, too. It's mano-a-mano amongst these cars this time around, with the bigger track circuit at 3.61 miles.
It's going to be these two mano-a-mano all season long by the sound of it, because these two have been the class of the field. Holland, Wagner continue on with their dominance. 8 make it 8 seconds, make it 9 seconds ahead of Sebastian Coffre.
For those curious about how taking tires work, by the way, Caleb Petrie is in 11th, around the spot where he started. 4 seconds back of Max Chablis. So that did not work out track position-wise for the 598. He was the only driver in the entire field to take tires, by the way.
Well, also think of it this way too, Justin. He did have that mistake on his pit box where he overshot it as well. So if it wasn't for that, he might have been able to make up a little bit more ground.
Wagner looking to make up a ton of ground this time. 3 to go this time. Wagner going the outside way. Deeper on the brakes. Holland with the preferred line holds onto it. Wagner loses ground again out of the Casio Triangle. Good defense by Holland.
Watching this battle for the race lead as they come up to the line. It's going to be 3 laps to go here around the Suzuka circuit. Here comes Wagner with a head of steam. Now he's back up to full song. Has a great time with about just under a tenth faster than Holland as they approach through the S's.
We've had our first disqualification for incident points tonight. Joey Tebben is done for the night in the 60, was running 25th. That is also something to keep in mind. A few of these drivers have been flirting with some of the incident points tonight. Speaking of those flirting with those, Michael Diaz, remember, with the contact earlier, now up to 6th. Passing by Giori, let's take a look at how he got it done.
Watching Giori, and there you'll see that pass by Diaz. Just sends it on into the inside. Beautiful pass by Michael Diaz. That's how you make a beautiful pass into the first corner at Suzuka.
There's a reason he's a champion, right? Michael Diaz, last year's pro champion. Looking to try and recover from the incident earlier, was running top 5 before the incident. Keep in mind that 5th spot, Nick McLaughlin still. Heffernan battling it out meanwhile. This is M-Class battling. Fernando Rodriguez is keeping things close in this midst.
Colin Hefferman carrying the torch in the AM category for the Atomic team.
Look at this! Wagner trying to send it through 130R. Wagner lets Holland gather it back up.
Great racing between the two teammates, even there that we almost had a chaotic situation right there. Great battling, great respect between these two drivers here in this series.
Usually we haven't seen passes there tonight, Taylor. And you have to be brave and strong to make a move there, but not on your teammate.
Well...
Oh, and he's going for the cross on a teammate. Wagner crosses up. Holland drops to second.
Well, even though they're teammates, they are both making brave and heroic decisions in this race in the closing stages 2 laps to go. I think it's safe to say they made a gentleman's agreement that teammate rules are out the window in the final 2 laps.
And you can see him cross up his opponent with the up and under. And the 51 to the lead for now. Key word for now.
Oh, it's not over yet. We still got a lot of racing left to go between these two competitors. Wagner, Holland, right on board with David Holland as they approach over to the hairpin. He gets a good run, see if he can maybe take a peek to the inside. Not close enough to send it. Gets a good run off corner exit. Gets right on to the back bumper of Connor Wagner to see what he can do.
The next passing opportunity, Casio Triangle, as a bit of a blip there for a moment. Still on track, both of them are. Coming up to the white flag this time around. Holland within 2 car lengths.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch this action. You're not wanting to miss a minute of it here. The PRL on Race Spot. It's going to get intense, and this is what the season's going to be like. It's going to be an amazing Formula 3 season.
Holland waiting for now. Wagner goes deep regardless of it. Holland tries to go for the switchback, can't do it. Drift from Wagner, coming up to the white flag. Final time around for race 2 of the season for the PRL's Formula 3 series, powered by VCO. Holland electing to wait for now. We've seen how critical it is to time up the pass for the right moment.
The thing is, though, Justin, where will Holland strike? There's only a couple of good passing opportunities that he can really make it work. Right now, he can't make anything happen through the S's.
Now it's the patience game, absolutely, at this point. Especially with them really letting it hang out with those right rear tires. Here comes Holland now with a bit of a run, not in the passing sections, though. And has to keep close, Holland does right now. Holland cannot afford any mistakes. One mistake, and it's Wagner's race.
Riding on board with Wagner, there you see Holland stalking, trying to find some weakness, a nick in the armor that Wagner has possessed these past couple of laps as they come out of the hairpin, down the back straightaway. This is going to get exciting.
We've seen already one daring attempt through 130R tonight. Will we see another amongst the teammates? Holland way deep on the brakes, trying to set up for the draft for the final time around.
Ooh, big wiggle right there by Holland.
That might cost him a bit. Wagner trying to play defensive already. Here comes David Holland through 130R, going to the left. Inside for Wagner, outside Holland for the Casio Triangle. Trying to outbreak each other, the squeeze by Wagner. Holland tries to get him back, can't do so. Connor Wagner holds off David Holland to win at Suzuka.
What a pass as Barney the Flagman waves the checkered flag. Victory for Connor Wagner here at Suzuka, as here comes Nick McLaughlin, your AM winner here as he works through. Let's see the excitement. Hopefully he's going to be a happy man here. Out of the final corner, Nick McLaughlin, TQ Engineering, big fist pump as he gets home with a win. Let's all go with the wheel. I was expecting a shoey this time, but hey, he deserves this victory.
Oh, that's for later, keep in mind, based on the track record. But my goodness, 5th place for the AM class winner. What a drive. Give credit to Kita as well, 9th overall. And 2nd in the AM class, charging up 12 spots. Your biggest mover? Lucio Vargas, who is battling right here for that spot, in fact, with Ross Cato. Cato playing defensive. Side by side. Outside for Vargas. Vargas using all the runoff space to get the job done.
How about that for Vargas to get that position? Ooh, a little bit of a break locked up right there through the Casio Triangle, and Cato struggling out of the Casio Triangle to give the position to Lucio Vargas. Comes home 20th in overall and 10th in class.
And give credit to Cato. He's going this run of the season in a car he's made a debut in. Keep in mind, he comes from RSR competition. Some other drivers who did well in the first round, not so much this time. Punchtel, 23rd overall. Outside top 10 in AM, Tyler Campbell, what could have been. But my oh my, what a run today for Wagner and McLaughlin. Your winners today, Pro and AM respectively, here in the PRL Formula 3 Series powered by VCO. The celebrations about to get underway for many drivers in what was a busy night here at Suzuka. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results. Wagner picks up the victory in a last lap battle with David Holland. Sebastian Coffre comes away with the third place run. Rob Quinard rounds out the top four. Nick McLaughlin, the top running AM driver, in fifth. Michael Diaz in sixth. Giori, Overbay, Kita in Chablis. The top 10 today. 11th spot goes to Caleb Petrie after the four-tire call and a mistake on the pit execution. Turner Schroll recovers from a poor qualifying run to third in AM. Then it's Eric Palacio in 13th. Manuel Vargas up to 14th. Rounding out the top 15 is Brian Lowe, with Fernando Rodriguez, Colin Heffernan, Richard Swindells, James Holland, and Lucio Vargas the top 20. 21st goes to Ross Cato overall, James Carter, Ryan Punchtel the top 23. Then it's Tyler Campbell, the last running driver lead lap and in Pro Class lead lap competition. Alomar finishes in 25th. Joey Tebben finishes with the DQ as Muntz the DNFs in 26th. Adam McDonald, Stephen Ritters, Moises Caraballo, and Michael Coffre also on the list. 31st goes to Frankie Arvello with Kevin Santana, Julio Palacio, along with Guillaume Aben in the top 34, Juan Coffre, Michael Blaze, Thurman, Didi, Newhook, and Lerner. Rounding out the top 40. San Diego and Negretti crashed in the early moments of the race. They round out your 42 entries, and the fastest lap, Connor Wagner, lap 12. And what a busy night. What an exciting night from Suzuka. Plenty to get to today. But first things first, Nick McLaughlin standing by, your AM class winner. 5th overall as well today, Nick. How are you feeling?
Out of breath, man. These cars, the open wheelers are kind of new to me, and man, they are on the limit the whole race. There was no time to breathe.
How was that charge through the pack, though, to try and keep it clean while others were having attrition in the midst of some of the battling?
It was definitely a war of attrition out there. Lots of spins in front. I think I got a good lap in quali, and it was kind of a mess. And yeah, people dropping around in front. I don't know how I swung a top 5 today. I have no idea.
Well, if my memory serves me right, you were somebody who likes shoeies. Is that correct?
I'm not the shoey meister.
Are you willing to do one?
If I had a shoe around.
You could do it helmety.
Hold on, wait, 1 second.
Oh, this is going to get interesting.
I don't have a shoey, but being Canadian, I do have some maple syrup. So cheers, fellas.
Cheers indeed. Congratulations on the run, Nick.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That's Nick McLaughlin, your winner in the AM class today, having some nice maple syrup as part of the celebration, Taylor. Memory served Ron on the shoey, but that was even better than what I thought would go.
I have to agree on that. I mean, come on, he's Canadian. He's got to do it right with the maple syrup.
But what a run for Connor Wagner today in a battle with David Holland. They nearly made contact a couple times, in fact, in this one. Your thoughts on how the battle played out between the teammates?
It was phenomenal to watch Wagner and Holland battle it out respectfully, but still racing each other to the bitter end and to the checkered flag. That is what we want to see between teammates. It's almost like the rivalry we see in Formula racing all through the decades, especially in the Mercedes teams that we see. So it's great to see that happening live and well in this PRL Formula 3 series.
So the expectations in turn for the next time out, because we talked about it a little bit, it's a track that is a bit unique for these cars. Sonoma, for the Cup layout, in fact. Your thoughts on going to Wine Country?
Wine Country is going to be tipsy-turvy and a lot of craziness here. A lot of drivers are going to kind of be seeing this almost similar to what we had to deal with Suzuka. But of course, there really is no place to have a runoff issue. If you have issues and go off track, you are going into the gravel and into the tire barrier. So it's going to be exciting. We're looking forward to seeing this happen.
Looking forward to see how things play out on July the 7th, 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see that cover start once again here on Race Spot. And before we say goodbye, we'd like to bring in a part of that battle for the pro class. David Holland joins us. David, what was your perspective?
Hey guys, first of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, just downloaded TeamSpeak trying to get this running. Yeah, it was a great race. I'm full of sweat over here. Connor made me work real hard to even have a shot at that. But yeah, had some great racing. We were both pushing 110%, and we knew after the pit stop it was going to be, every man for himself. Had some good racing, but he got it there in the end. But it was fun fighting.
What could he have done differently in the midst of that battle?
I don't know. I knew I didn't really want to be in front going into the last lap, and so I kind of held off, but I knew I had to be perfect on that last lap to have a shot on the back straight. And I did. He went to block, and it's just kind of a roll of the dice at who comes out in front after the chicane. He pushed it in pretty hard. I pushed it in pretty hard. I was going to try and keep it there on the outside and have the inside for the second part of the chicane, but kind of had to back out of it a little bit. But still all good, clean, fair racing. So a lot of fun.
We were starting to discuss about Sonoma, what to expect there. What should we expect from these drivers here tonight, or next week, should say, at Sonoma, and from you?
I don't really know. I don't have that much experience on that track. From what I do know, there's a couple good passing spots, going into the last turn, that 180 degree. I don't really want to call it a hairpin because you're carrying quite a bit of speed through it. But, besides that, it might be difficult to pass on that. The aero wash could come into play. The elevation change is going to be fun, but I think it's going to be a fun track to drive. I don't know how well it's going to race, so we'll have to see.
Well, on that note, thank you very much for your time, David. Congratulations on the podium.
Thanks a lot, guys. Just real quick, got to thank the team, Delta Sport by Hardpoint, and all the drivers that were in there tonight. Connor, obviously, Rod, and Caleb. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you very much, David. That's once again David Hall. I'd like to thank him, as well as Nick McLaughlin, for taking the time to speak with us here during post-race coverage. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. We'd like to thank you tuning in once more for tonight's action. As mentioned, the next time out, it's Sonoma. It's Wine Country. And it's July the 7th, 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 6:10 p.m. Pacific, here on RaceSpot and VCO Esports. It should be a fun one, to say the very least, but on that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you for tuning in once more for tonight's action. For our producer, Connery Maddock, for my co-announcer, Taylor Burris, it's time to say goodnight. I'm Justin Prince, saying so long, enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the PRL F3 Series, powered by VCO. Congratulations to Wagner and McLaughlin, your winners here at Suzuka.